Welcome to Turmeric and Tequila with your host, Kristen Olson. Questioning a better way, one gracefully disruptive conversation at a time.
Quick word from our treasured sponsor, Lux Neuro, offering neurofeedback and counseling, where your heart and mind align. For more information about what neurofeedback can do for you, listen to the neurofeedback stories of transformation in the middle of this podcast. Neurofeedback effectively treats everything from insomnia, anxiety, depression, trauma, ADHD, and much more. Optimize your brain. Check them out at luxneuro.com. Welcome to Turmeric and Tequila. I'm so excited to be with you today. This is an exciting one. We are going to check back in with myself, if that's a thing. We're at 200 plus episodes. So I thought it was time to come back on the mic, give you a little bit more about me, my background. Yes, we've done episodes like this before, but very few people go all the way back to the early days of episodes 1 through 10 or episode 100. So we're at 200 plus. It's time to check in. I'm going to tell you who I am, why I'm here, some of my background, and what we're doing now with Turmeric and Tequila in the podcast in 2024. And as we go on from 200 plus, what the mission is. Like any company or mission or agenda, things change over time. So it's been an extraordinary journey thus far of starting this podcast and why I started it, and now what we're doing and why I'm continuing it. So we'll unpack it all. This is a good refresher of who am I and why am I here. So let's go. Quick 411. I am a longtime athlete. I am the oldest of 4. I have 3 younger brothers. That's very much a piece of my journey and my why. I always think God, universe, Madonna, whatever you believe, tease you up before you're even intentional and have choices for what you're going to do, what the mission is going to be. So right out of the bat, I was one of 4 and I was the only girl, and learning to not only have a voice, but try and be a leader and be in the mix and figure out that with 3 rowdy brothers, 2 athletic parents. Dad played collegiate football. Mom was a competitive swimmer. And then, dad was in finance. So very much like entrepreneurial spirit. And my mom was a hard worker, obviously with 4 kids. It was an insane decision. So I saw early leadership and women doing strong things very early on. Playing all kinds of sports really set me up for discipline and life skills that I am, tapping into to this day. So right out of, high school, I played lacrosse in middle school. It was not really a big sport in Colorado, but it was something that I was good at. I didn't even know it was an option until my sophomore year of high school. Then I started to take it even more seriously. But at this time in Colorado, we didn't have a ton of opportunity to be on competitive teams or travel. I was fortunate that my public school happened to have lacrosse. It was very much a private school type sport. It's wealthy white people playing. It's diversified a little bit at this point, but not a ton. So that's also been part of my personal journey without that intentional language early on. Was pretty good at lacrosse. Again, my coach played softball, so we didn't necessarily have a ton of high-end lacrosse unless we traveled and competed against some of the better teams in Colorado. So we had to travel and get out to get some of that, higher level competition. But I was really adamant about going top 20 D1. This was something I wanted. I was very young and naive at the time. We didn't have social media or Instagram or anything, so I didn't know what I was getting into, but I knew I had the ability within. So even with scholarships and stuff, I got some smaller scholarships to newer teams, but I really wanted to go top 20 D1. So I walked on to George Mason University. I was out of official visits. Official visits can be a whole podcast in themselves, but walked out there. I didn't even have an official visit left. So I literally walked on to one of their practices, and one of my coach's parents were like, where did you come from? I walked out of the woods, if you know George Mason University, and just got to know the team, got to know the coaches. And I think I want to go here. I was right outside of DC. I love the city. So that was cool. So played 5 years there, tore my ACL my sophomore year. It was kind of a crazy story because walking in freshman year, we got whooped up and kind of run over, and I had to get my Midwest lacrosse level out to an East Coast high level lacrosse. So earned my way into a starting position come sophomore year, and we got to come play in Denver. We played against Stanford and DU, won both games. It was a dream come true for me because I was playing against a lot of people I played with in high school, and my team was usually not the winner of those games. So to walk out with my collegiate team and be successful on my home turf was incredible. My entire family was out here, and they didn't get to see a lot of games, me being so far away, including, grandparents and everything. And then our first game back, I tore my ACL at UMBC. So it was super high to super low. And
that was my first experience with, depression. I had lost my identity. I couldn't play lacrosse. So who was I? What was I doing? And I had to navigate mental health without any conversation around mental health. So that was a real early process of figuring out, who am I? What am I doing if I don't have lacrosse? So I'm not this person, what do I stand for? So that was a whole piece of the journey of figuring out, man, take this away. What are we going to do? And I was 2,000 miles away from my family and my go-to support system. So figuring that out on my own was a whole huge task. Fast forward, graduating college and navigating being away from home. And then I lived on my own my 5th year. I was doing a lot more grown decisions than I even was aware of, but I came home and I started Colorado Rising Stars Lacrosse. I knew coming out of a D1 top 20 program, I was kind of done having a boss. I didn't grow up as a kid with a lot of rules. I had sports as my point of accountability, and I knew I was always a little bit behind being this Colorado kid that wanted to play competitive East Coast lacrosse. So I had these, boundaries that were just there that I knew I was always going to have to work a little bit harder, do a little bit more just to hang. And just being a female and in women's sports, it wasn't as big as it is now. You had limited opportunities, so you couldn't mess around. So I didn't really have a lot of structure or rules enforced upon me as a kid, but I had these kind of internal rules because I knew I had to show up, and I had these points of accountability through athletics. So being a part of a D1 program and having coaches, and you're kind of a commodity when you're on scholarship, you've got these rules. I knew I wanted to be, again, my own boss and hold myself accountable, do my own discipline, and start a company. Didn't know what I was doing, but started Colorado Rising Stars Lacrosse. And at the time, my parents were going through a divorce. So I was living at home and just kind of figuring out, who am I? What do I want to do? What does this company want to do? And I knew that, sports was such a huge piece for me, from the point of accountability to the best friends in my life and my support community and just keeping me on point in life. I knew that there was a major space to teach life skills through sports, and lacrosse had taken me to Japan twice. We played in Prague. We'd gone all over the world. I got to meet new people. It just expanded my perspective on life on so many levels. I knew early that I wanted any kid to have this opportunity, if they love lacrosse, to play. So with, limited accessibility and limited opportunity to play lacrosse, I knew I wanted to create something that allowed everybody to try this game. I didn't really have this, language we have now today around mental health or diversity and inclusion or anything like that. But I knew it was a white rich kid sport, and I wanted to diversify that without having those words to say it. So we with limited resource, no internet, no social media at that time, I just started reaching out to companies and saying, like, listen, Cliff Bar, they were a partner for 9 or 10 years. You can pay us. We'll be your partners. We'll get you involved in the lacrosse community. We will go into like schools and field days where we can teach lacrosse. We help save the school some budget on buying popsicles. They can, use Cliff Bars. It's slightly healthier, saves them money, and we get to teach lacrosse to everybody in the school for a small portion of that field day. So we just started to do creative strategy like that, just out of nowhere. Necessity is kind of the best base of innovation. So I just started to innovate these ways where we can do things and help companies that can help us, that can help facilitate the message and the gospel of lacrosse. So fast forward, that was Colorado Rising Stars Lacrosse teams, tournaments, camps, sale, anything to facilitate the lacrosse community and the lacrosse market. We were the answer. About 2009, CrossFit took off. 2 brothers in military and one that played D1 lacrosse like myself at Cornell. My second brother, Matt, that was in the Marines at the time, was like, you guys got to, you're home, you're out of college. You need to check out this thing called CrossFit and go see if it'll stick. If you like it, like, you need to get out of the house, do something more. Like, that competitive bug in me was still burning because I didn't, I went to college to win a D1 championship and we didn't do that. So there was just something in me that wanted to still compete. And I didn't fully reach my capacity and potential within lacrosse. And I'm kind of thankful I didn't, because it kept that competitive bug and that something to prove, chip on my shoulder alive. So when CrossFit came in the game, the bug bit fast. I loved it. I think we entered in 2008. And then by 2009, I was competing at the farm, the original in Aromas CrossFit Games. And we were out there with the team. Incredible experience. And it was awesome to just see, like, lacrosse, this thing that was still just kind of emerging, all of a sudden explode over, the past 12, 15 years, and competed with Front Range CrossFit for, oh gosh, I think 10 years. We went to the games 5 times. I qualified as an individual in 2010 and forwent my spot to compete on the team at Aromas at the farm. And I was within like one spot a few years in a row to qualify as an individual and never quite made it. And I had some weird things happen. Some days you're just not the best and you're just not the one that qualifies, and that's the way it is. And my jump rope broke twice in one event. There was one where I just I don't know if I drank coconut water or something, and I just blacked out during a workout, which had never happened. There was just some weird things that had gone on. So, sometimes I always tell my young people, you can do everything right or do all the things you can. There's just uncontrollables that you got to lean in and embrace and trust that the process is preparing you for something bigger, even when it breaks your heart and absolutely runs you over. Some of my experience with lacrosse and CrossFit and competing has been my most vulnerable emotional experiences, because as an athlete, if you want to compete, you want to be out there, you're putting it all out there. You're the human in the arena, and everyone sees your success and or your failures, your mistakes, your high points. It's all out there for people to see and critique and comment on. And it's tough. It's my biggest heartbreaks have come through my athletic pursuits, and I wouldn't change any piece of it, but it's been hard. Within that experience of CrossFit, I, was a team leader, and I was working with a lot of companies. Someone that I knew that was our first CRS lacrosse sponsor, went to Reebok for lacrosse, and then he transferred over and brought CrossFit to Reebok. I ran into him at the CrossFit Games, and he knew what I was doing with branding and marketing. He's like, come work for Reebok. So I was working for Reebok CrossFit at the time, helping facilitate that and getting companies and athletes to work together. This is before brand ambassadors, influencers. So the CRS lacrosse and marketing kind of transferred into what is now KO Alliance. It's my consulting company. We're helping, companies build strategic partnerships, working with long-term mutually beneficial relationships to help them with brand ambassadors or sponsorships or influencers. We do all of that. And it all kind of came from my own authentic experience in athletics and working with brands. And then on the business side, working with brands and then helping merge those worlds. So much of my journey has come through sports and me authentically doing what I loved. And I'm so thankful for that. And in retrospect, again, I was trying to show up and I was trying to do all the right things professionally, but so much was just happening as it needed to. And I was kind of at the right place at the right time, doing the right things. And a lot of it was at the right place at the right time, doing the wrong thing. So I had to figure out or learn how to do the right things. It was preparing me for something bigger. I always tell my young people, again, have your plan, but trust that everything you're learning right now, all the things you're going through really are preparing you for something bigger, and probably something bigger than what your dream actually is. So once KO Alliance started to take off, we worked with C9 by Champion, Reebok, oh my gosh, Nike. We have worked with everybody in health and wellness at some point over these past 20 years in some capacity. And then when influencers and Instagram took off, we really got intentional with helping build brand ambassador teams, not from a point of, this person's naked on Instagram, they're getting 1 million likes, but how do we get people with something to say that authentically support these kind of brands that have something to say and merge them, so we're collectively not only saying and selling, intentional items or things or services or thought leaders, but we're doing this for the long term, and we're really building teams for the long term. So that's where we are with, today in KO Alliance. And in that mix, I was a varsity head coach for 10 plus years. I coached lacrosse basically my entire life. That's what I did to make money throughout college. And then obviously with CRS lacrosse, we did tons of coaching and camps and working with our young people. And then in KO Alliance, we're doing, personal coaching, like business coaching or life coaching. But a lot of that came from me coaching on the lacrosse field. And I saw, my young humans getting their reality through their cell phones. And being an old school philosophy fan, reality is nothing more than applied meaning. To break down philosophy or put it in a nutshell, to live is to suffer. So we're kind of just figuring out how do we suffer less and figure it out. So, things that have been questioned hundreds of thousands of years ago, a long time ago, are same questions, that we have now. So I knew if our reality is coming so much through marketing branding, through the cell phone, as a marketing branding professional, I'm like, we got to find a way to start telling the truth. I was working with brand ambassadors at the time and some companies that were like health and wellness, and they're saying it's healthy. But then, once I got into it, I'm like, this isn't necessarily the healthiest thing. Or, brand ambassadors that were on the cover of health magazines, and I knew they had disordered eating. I'm like, this is happening everywhere. I'm like, as a marketing branding professional, we got to start telling the truth. So Turmeric and Tequila was born. I initially just started as a place where we can further tell the story of these key voices that we had working with brands or intentional missions. I really wanted to unpack the human behind the mission so people could really see they're doing this and they've got all this, ethos and incredible story as to why they're doing what they're doing. And it's awesome. And a lot of people that didn't want to be influencers, I always say CrossFit has been the best filter for my life, bringing the best people into my world, because it's such like-minded people showing up to better themselves on the daily. I don't even care how good or bad you are at actual CrossFit. It's just people with intentionality showing up. Those are my people. And I wanted to put them on the mic. I'm like, you got to share your story. There was no intention of this being a business or anything. It was just something where we could start telling the truth and show examples of people questioning a better way, doing things their way. So a lot of it, we could, have young people chasing their authentic dream, their authentic selves, and mitigate some of this mental health conversation of trying to be something that you're authentically not, or trying to fit in, where you can do things your way. And here's 200 conversations of people doing it their way. Here's the proof that you can do it your way. So at this stage in the game, Turmeric and Tequila, we're taking it on full time. I'm very clear. It's been a process, 5+ years, 200+ episodes of like, maybe this can be a full-time thing. Maybe this is what I'm here to do. It's not just a podcast, but it is the idea of questioning a better way, facilitating graceful disruption, facilitating mental health and community. The baseline I wrote down 5 or 6 years ago, it was kind of weird. It just came through of, I am here to inspire positive, radical social evolution. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I get it. And I intuitively understand, but how in the hell do I explain that? How do I work my way into like making that a thing? I hear, I like spirit, energy, universe, whatever. It's clear it was there. And now through this podcast, I feel like this is the avenue where I can inspire positive, radical social evolution. We're still reverse engineering that from that inline, to make it make sense. And it's been a journey explaining what turmeric and tequila is. It's a juxtaposition of being all things, seemingly opposing things can harmoniously coexist. Really, this is me. I'm an athlete. I love fun. I love finding the balance in it. And I love that when you think something can't coexist, it does, because that's my life. I'm very much juxtaposition, as we all are. As humans, we are all wearing so many hats, and we've these gifts within, and these little idiosyncrasies that make us us, that are such beautiful gifts that we get conditioned to put down or put away or not lean into. And that's where that mental health comes through. So if we, and gets suppressed or gets agitated, or if we have community and people that are all questioning better and living their authentic selves, it gets more socially acceptable to chase those wild dreams or do those super weird things that are within. And I want Turmeric and Tequila to be the proof that here's your community. We're here. We're out here. We're doing it just like you. We're different. We're weird. We're doing things our way. And there's lots of us like that. There's lots of us that are doing things our way and leaning into our intuition and following our hearts, chasing the dreams, doing what's hard. You got to do the work. Sometimes you got to pay your dues, and you got to take some of that traditional path. And in due time, all things can unfold. I'm 43 years old at this point, whenever you're listening to this. It's taking me this entire journey where I thought I was training to go to D1 lacrosse and win a championship. And then I was training to go to the CrossFit Games. And I was training to have the best company. And really, I genuinely believe that everything, every success, failure, and in between lesson was for me right now to be on the mic and showcase the failure, showcase the successes, but mostly just showcase my kind of random journey of not having it figured out, not knowing what's next, but really doing what I love and letting doing what I love facilitate the journey and pick up the pieces. And anytime I was off, and then get back on path. And it's been a lot of trial and error and intuitives and coachings and therapies and all this stuff. But somehow God, universe, Madonna has weaved me to right now, even with all my intentional coaching and training and everything else. So much just had to happen at the right time. If you look at where we're at in this world, and the WNBA popping off and women's sports popping off. Here I am, an athlete, 43 years in the game. I was playing sports as a 0-year-old, obviously, and working to like create this space for women to play sports, for anyone to play sports or compete or get around people that want to do CrossFit, or people that are like-minded, whatever, maybe it's sports, chess, theater, whatever, get around your community, but facilitating this message of life skills through sports or whatever your passion is. Now we're in a space in 2024 where women's sports are popping off. It's becoming a thing. I couldn't have controlled any of that. And yet it's right here on time. We've got this podcast, we've got the mic, we've got all this experience, and it's all here. It's aligning with what's actually going on in the world. So I always tell my people, be intentional, show up, and let go just enough for things to just happen. And the truth is, I have no idea what's next. My intentionality at this point is to grow this podcast, bring incredible people doing incredible things, good people doing good things. I like to continue to be that example out there of like, you can do you the way you want to do it. And show up and be purposeful in this world, and work alongside really incredible, intentional companies, sponsors, partners, affiliates that are out there, that are certified B corporations or mission-driven humans and companies that are making it work, because money does make this world go round, and it's an energy, it's an exchange of energy. So let's come through with the money, come through with the energy, and let's, help our mission, we'll help your mission, and like, let's work together. And you've got intentional people doing intentional things. Yeah, let's have a sponsorship, and 10% kicks back to the military, or this buys 50 pairs of shoes for people that need them, or have you. We're doing all these things at one time through our passion piece, through our heart space. It's amazing. We have 2 incredible companies on board right now. Lux Neuro, Laura Mahoney, she's been on the show. She's been in my life for 15 plus years, fellow CrossFitter. She does all things brain health, therapy, neurofeedback, and counseling. They're an incredible partner. I'm doing neurotherapy right now. I've been a longtime believer in it. Can address anything from PTSD to sports performance to mental health things that you can dig into. Listen to all our episodes to get into how much neurofeedback can help get you off medication. It can do so much, help with sleep. That's what I'm focusing on right now. It's incredible. Neurofeedback is the next thing, and Laura Mahoney is the game changer because she is such an intentional and intuitive human to help facilitate you through that process. Any longtime athlete or human that's a fan of human optimization, health and wellness, you need the right modality, but you also need the right practitioner. You need someone that knows what they're doing and genuinely cares about what you're doing. That's Laura Mahoney and Lux Neurofeedback. So not even saying that as a sponsor, saying that as a friend and a genuine fan. That's a human you want in your world for all things mental, physical health, or human optimization in general. Declan James Watches, my guy Brian Doherty, trained with him. He has incredible watches that are absolutely beautiful, and they are, he's a Navy SEAL, and a portion of profits kick back to the Navy SEAL Foundation. So intentional in what he's doing. He's doing this to build a legacy. He served our country. He's talking about giving back to people that have served our country, and they're incredible. So I'm excited to rep the jewels and wear the watch with intentionality and support his cause. They are, local and family owned. Both of these humans are CrossFit people. So mission driven humans really driving. So I'm excited to have them a Turmeric and Tequila team. And I'm pumped even more so to continue to build out that team with our like-minded humans and companies and share their gospel. Both of them have been on the mic, so listen into their full stories, but we're going to continue to build that team and work with companies that are out here that are giving back and doing something alongside their entrepreneurial pursuits. So we are doing things different on Turmeric and Tequila. We are not going through an agency or doing sponsorships or paid per downloads or anything like that. We are straight up going out there, building our own team. I'm excited to welcome a director of strategic partnerships onto the mic, Caitlin Hart. She's going to be out there facilitating partnerships. And Katie Gerhardt, I've known for over 20 years from lacrosse. She's going to be our COO, just leading out all operations, helping facilitate partnerships, and pretty much have her hand in all the things. I've known her for so long. I absolutely trust her 100%. And it's very serendipitous that she worked with me at CRS Lacrosse, 20 years ago in lacrosse, doing all things marketing and branding. And here she is, so many years later, helping facilitate and lead the journey and the purpose of Turmeric and Tequila. So the team's building, the sponsors are building, the voice is building. I'm going to work really hard to find and bring in humans doing incredible things and showcase their journey, so we know that we can do it our way and continue to be inspired to do things our way. So that's what it is for right now. CRS Lacrosse and competitive sports, to CrossFit, to KO Alliance, to now Turmeric and Tequila. It's been a wild journey. We're just getting started. I don't know what's next. I love the people that are coming in. We go in with open intentions. I never really know where the conversation's going to go, but it's incredible. People doing incredible things. And we're going to help just continue to put good into this world wherever we can, and let go just enough so it can bend and fold into whatever it needs to be, because the end game is really just to be useful. I say inspire positive radical social evolution. It's really just about loving yourself, loving this world. And any way we can be use to our local community, our national community, our international community, that's what Turmeric and Tequila is here. It's about personal acceptance of this world, acceptance of love and happiness, and doing the right thing, and also failure and hard work, and continuing to evolve. So that's me. I hope that makes sense. We're questioning a better way, one gracefully disruptive conversation at a time. I'm out here. I'm accessible. I'm with you. Feedback is welcome. We are here to serve the community. We've got apparel and all the things coming at you, a new website, a team coming with that. So we're working to level up all the production, all the conversations, everything. We're out here for you. And I thank you for anyone that has tuned in at any point in time, has rocked the t-shirt, has shared the podcast, has done anything thank you. I'm here for you. And I sincerely appreciate any sort of energy you've put towards us. If you're out there looking and wondering, like, how can we further support you? Tune into the show, rock the t-shirt, share the show with someone. Please like, rate, review, subscribe, review the podcast on Apple. Any of those little things really, really matter. I know my other fellow entrepreneurs and people out there doing their own hustle know that all these little things truly add up. And I go out of my way to try and help and support my fellow entrepreneurs because I know the hustle is so hard and it's so worthwhile. It's so worth it. So if you're listening and you're aspiring to be an entrepreneur or to build your own brand, voice, mission, my advice is do it. Whatever it is, just start now. However messy it is in the beginning, it's going to change over time, but just start and know that embrace that call from within and lean in. You don't have to have it all figured out. Just start going because you never know what it's going to mold to be and continue to grow and evolve and change. So stay a student of the game, show up every day, let go just enough and believe in something bigger. I appreciate your time and energy. Stay with us. Let's let this community continue to grow and we'll see you soon. Cheers. God bless.
Thank you for joining Turmeric and Tequila with your host, Kristen Olson. Tune in next time, and don't forget to subscribe on Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.